So the first is Persian invasion. So the Persian invasion, okay, so the Persian invasion was done into the tiny provinces. Now why tiny provinces? Because if you see, during that period there was no unity between the kingdoms. There was not yet the full structured political administration. Okay, and that is why we'll see that many of the small towns, small kingdoms would be divided, and they would be surviving there on their own, in their own way. Okay, and that is why it was easy for the intruder to attack on these kingdoms or to attack on the small regions, because they didn't had taken any of the care, like who is coming and who's going. Okay, so that is why we'll see that this will be taken as an advantage. Okay, advantage of the tiny kingdoms, and these areas would be conquered, especially in today's date, the area of the Pakistan or the area of the Afghanistan, which is at the west of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, this region was known as the Gandhara region. Okay, like if you have gone through the Mahabharata, okay, the Gandhara was one of the Mahajanapadas. Okay, so this Gandhara was being conquered by the Persian players or the Persian invaders. Okay, so the Gandhara, Kamboja, and Madra are one of the or some of the examples of the tiny provinces which were conquered by the Persian invasion. Okay, now let's take this as a map. Okay, somewhere here is Gandhara. Okay, just take this is J and K. Okay, the Gandhara was here. Okay, so they rightly started from here. Okay, acquiring from here, and they did came up till the Jhelum. Okay, or up till the Indus. Okay, now the Cyrus was the King Cyrus was the first one to get this tiny kingdom during 535. That is, the invasion started during the 535 BCE. Okay, after that it was the Darius. Okay, after the Darius, okay, so Darius came up till the Indus Valley civilization, or the, sorry, not Indus Valley, sorry, Indus River. Okay, Indus River. Okay, and when the Darius came to the Indus River, he thought that, okay, he thought that the world has ended over here. He considered this Indus River as a sea, and he thought that it is the end of eastern world. It is end of eastern world, because many of the historians talked about that the eastern world ended at the Indian subcontinent, and that is why they thought that we have came near to the sea. Okay, and that is why they thought that yes, we had conquered the eastern world also. Okay, so here they came till Jhelum River. Okay, they came till Jhelum River. Okay, and during this time they had laid some of the evidences of inscriptions. They had laid some of the evidences of the inscriptions, and these inscriptions were known as the Satrapy. These inscriptions were known as Satrapy. See these inscriptions. Now this is the Kharosthi script. This is Kharosthi script. Now, what is the main feature of this Kharosthi script? Like if we are writing, okay, if we are writing from left to right, right? But this Kharosthi script was carried out from right to left. Okay, this is written from right to left. Okay, okay, this is written totally in the opposite direction. Okay, so this is Kharosthi script, okay, which is written from right to left. So if you analyze the Kharosthi script, okay, many of the inscription of Ashokan edicts are also based on the Kharosthi script. So this was the impact of the Persian people on the Indian culture. Okay, so we can say that the Indians learned this language. Okay, when they had the Persian invasions, they had made their remix with the Persian culture. Okay, so that is why you can say that the military, okay, the standing military for the first time was being observed by the Indians. Okay, because of the Persian invaders. They, for the first time, they saw how does the military looks like, how expertise military group works like. Okay, and for that, like, we'll see this military group would be consisting or would be hiring of the Indian soldiers as well. And from here we come to know that the Indian kingdoms or the Indian people would be adopting the standing military or the security options or the security department in the administration. Okay, so these are some of the impacts of the Persian invasion. Beyond that, the contemporary of this Persian invasion, when this invasion was being getting through, okay, we have the king Bimbisara, who was from Haranyaka dynasty of the Magad region. Now this Magad region is the same Mahajanapadas, which is one of the largest Mahajanapadas, which was situated in the UP and the Bihar region. Okay, so here first of all, it was, now Magad region had seen many of the dynasties. Okay, the initial dynasty was the Haranyaka dynasty, and during the Haranyaka dynasty, especially during the reign of King Bimbisara, okay, when it was the reign of King Bimbisara, we find that the Persians, especially the Cyrus, would make the invasion in the Indian subcontinent. Okay, so this was the time frame. Now, the effects of the Persian invasion were that the Ashokan edicts got the Kharosthi scripts. Okay, after that we began our trade with the Iran people. Okay, because Iran were considered as the most important, significant people for the Indian trades. Even today, if we see, we have n number of trade ties with the Iran country or the Iran people, because from here we get many of the natural resources also, and we exchange our economical values also. Okay, so here Indo-Iranian trade became evident only after the Persian invasion, and this is being evident through the gold and the silver coins, from which we derive that the Indians were linked with the Iranian people. So this gold and silver coining structure and design, okay, structure and design was derived from the Persian art and crafts. So the style of this gold and the silver coins will majorly speak about the Persian art. Okay, so we learned to develop the gold and silver coins only after the Persian invasion. Okay, after that the Ashokan edicts are one of the example. Again, then the Mauryan administration followed the Persian administrative system, especially with respect to the military, standing military. Okay, now it has been evident in Arthashastra also, Kautilya's Arthashastra. Kautilya means Chanakya. Okay, Kautilya's Arthashastra has the evidence of the standing military, which was the ideas or the principles which were being adopted from the Persian administration. Okay, now after that we also had some of the ties with the Indo-Macedonian, but they were secondary in nature. The first evidences we find with respect to the Iranian trade only. Okay, so after this we'll see what does the Greek invasion says. Okay, okay, effects of the Persian invasion. See, these are the pillars, the Ashokan pillar edicts. Okay, see, if you see, if you have your national emblem, okay, you will come to notice that there is a lotus like structure. Okay, there is, this is the pillar. Okay, here there is something like this. Okay, again we have 2 to 3 layers, then there is lotus. Okay, again we have 2 to 3 pillars, and upon that there is a lion that is being sitting. Okay, okay, the lion is being sitting like this. Okay, so yes, this is it. Okay, so all the motifs that had been scribed on this pillar, okay, are similar to these pillars. Now these are European, this is not present in India. Okay, so just imagine, okay, the pillar like structure which are having some of the animal evidences on the top. Okay, now these are similar to what they have in the Persian. Okay, the Persia mein we have this edicts. Okay, now what were the cultural impacts? So of course there is a debated topic, okay, that anytime the king consults the physician or the ascetic, he should sit in the room of the sacred fire. So it is being debated by many of the historians. Now the European historian says that the sacred fire wala ritual is being adopted from the Persian literature or the Persian administration only. Whenever a king is taking any kind of oath, or whenever any kind of king is having some of the important function, okay, so that time it is must that the king should first pray before any sacred fire, and this ritual has been adopted from the Persians. But again, here the Indian historian says that we have our early Vedic period which talks about Agni Dev, which talks about Agni Dev or Agni God. Okay, and that is why it is our own ritual, it is our own Vedic ritual which we had been following since past, and we have not taken it from the Persian. Okay, so this is again the debated topic. Fine.